Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. My name is Tom Tobin, president of the club, and we're thrilled to have you join us today. This meeting broadcast is available on HCTV as well as our Rotary of Hudson YouTube channel. Our club meets weekly at Laurel Lake for breakfast on Wednesday mornings from 7:15 to 8:30. Come out and join us for a meeting. We would love to have you as a guest. To learn more about Rotary, our club, and the impact we're having on our local community and the world, visit our website, rotaryhudson.org. Enjoy the meeting today and help us share the message that Rotary connects the world.
Good morning, Rotarians. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. Another beautiful day here. Our invocation this morning is by Bill Woolridge.
Thank you, Ron. Good morning, fellow Rotarians. And let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we give thanks that we live in a wonderful city within a great country. We are truly blessed people. Unfortunately, we have fallen short, very far short, in that we have mistrusted or mistreated our brothers and sisters of color. We humbly request your forgiveness. We ask your guidance as we try to understand their hurt and anger. And we seek your direction as we reach out to them in love and support. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. And now to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test, Mimi Becker.
Join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to
to the flag
the
to the
United States of America
and
and
to
to the republic
for which
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
under God,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
and
and
justice
justice for all.
for all.
Thank you. And join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is it
Is
the
it the
truth?
truth?
second, is it
Is
fair?
it fair to all concerned?
Third, will it build?
Will it build goodwill
Build
and
and
better
And better
friendships?
friendships.
And fourth, will it be
Will it be
beneficial?
beneficial to all concerned?
So,
And third, thank you.
Donna, are we having any music this morning?
No, we are not, unless you'd like to sing, Ron.
You'd rather that I don't. So we will turn it over to our president, Tom Tobin.
All right. Good morning, Rotarians. Hey, Mimi, thank you very much. That was a great job. And thank you for all of you who do the four-way test of remembering that it's the things we think, say, or do. That's an important thing to remember. Keep that in, that's always a good test. I try to remember to keep that in front of me when we have our school board meetings. Important measures to judge our decisions by. Okay, let's see. This morning, we are going to do, we have a check-in this morning. I want to continue this recent tradition of checking in with a Rotarian, giving them a minute or two to share with us any insights, wisdom, updates on what's going on in our lives, anything like that. I mean, it's kind of a free-flowing forum. And this morning, our featured checking in person is David Basil.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, fellow Rotarians. Kind of different not to have everybody in person and being able to shake hands, but thanks, Tom, and Donna for enabling us to connect in at least this way. I was thinking, the end of this month, I'm coming up on a year of retirement from full-time practice, and I will readily confess that I'm still getting used to the whole idea.
It's not easy.
And I will confess that on probably more than rare occasion, I frankly miss being in full-time practice, even though I'm doing some stuff, part-time and a little bit here and there. But it's different. Spending a lot more time in the yard, doing some projects that I'd kind of had my eye on doing, but never really had time and kept putting off. And Deb is telling me, don't launch too many things at once. Um, Hoping to get back out on the golf course in the next few days or week at the most. I had a really severe high ankle sprain. I did it on Mother's Day of all days. And quite frankly, it's just now starting to get to the point where there's no swelling. So it was an uncomfortable month in May. Other than that, everybody in our family is healthy. Unfortunately, our younger son, Jonathan, out in Colorado Springs, who I think many of you know works in professional sports, was a casualty. His position was a casualty of the whole COVID-19. Minor League Baseball is not going to happen this year. And so they cut their staff to essentially being only the general manager and assistant general manager. Even the assistant general manager of the team is now part-time. So a little bit rough, but he's got a lot of contacts and saved up a pretty decent little nest egg. So he'll be able to see himself through until he gets a new position. He doesn't think it'll take too long out there, but everybody's healthy, and that's the most important. Thanks, Tom.
That's great. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Hey, just a couple things here. By the way, I don't see Evan on yet, but I understand it's his birthday today. So if we do see him come up later on, maybe toward the end of the meeting, we could all wish him a happy birthday. Speaking of Evan, Evan is going to be, I just wanted to announce, Evan has agreed to take over for Joe Zapatowski as our club representative to Rotary International Foundation. So I appreciate Evan doing that. I think he's a perfect person for that. He seems to understand a lot of those things and appreciate the philanthropic aspect quite a bit. I wanted to announce that John Adams will be has agreed to take over as the chairman of the Speakers Committee. So I'm really happy that he's taking that over from George Snyder, who's obviously done an excellent job, and the whole team has, the whole committee has. So thank you so much, guys, for that. But we look forward to having John Adams in this new role. Hey, just shifting back again to the Rotary Foundation, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Jim Lechko, who we had out to visit, he's our District Rotary International Foundation chair. And he sent out a couple of pleas just recently. One is for, both of them for the Rotary Foundation, the Rotary Foundation. One of them is, and I think they're trying to get contributions in before the end of this month. One is would be targeted for Polio Plus, and he wanted to remind us there's a 2-for-1 matching opportunity with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to directed toward the Polio Plus, eradicating polio. So if anybody has a few extra bucks, that might be a good place to go. More generally, though, it's my understanding that our district is below our usual giving level. We're at about 75% of our usual giving to the Rotary Foundation. This is the district, not just our club. And he's trying to solicit some additional contributions there. If not, then it may have quite an impact on the district's designated funding, the money that kind of comes back to the district a few years from now. So once again, if anybody has a few bucks, get them into the Rotary International Foundation by June 30th would be much appreciated. Let's see. I also want to mention that there is a board meeting, a club board meeting this evening at 7 p.m. Everyone is invited. It's a Zoom meeting. If anybody needs the Zoom link to attend, please let me know, and I'll be happy to pass that on to you. So tonight, 7 p.m. club board meeting. Let's see. Going a little further, just be aware that graduation is tonight. Commencement, that is. I think you may have heard me before mention that typically we, have commencement for the high school at E.J. Thomas Hall. This year it will be at the Midway Drive-In Theater between Kent and Ravenna. And I think each family will, it's like one car per family. And, but it's going to be a great event. The administration's put a great deal of thought and effort into putting this together, and I think it's going to be very special. So it's going to be different. Mimi, you scared the heck out of me a little bit. You said concerns about tornadoes at 7 o'clock tonight. I think this thing is scheduled for like at dark, so I think it's a little bit later. But hopefully the weather will be good by then. Oh, I think you're muted at the moment, but okay. All right. Just want to see what else we have here. Forgive me, Marilyn, I didn't get a chance to chat with you before the meeting. My fault. Marilyn, is there anything that you wanted to say with regard to funding for EMS or anything like that? Is there any kind of an update there that we need to be aware of?
Certainly. I am so pleased to announce that we have had 3 donations that either were previously given or are newly pledged that will come to a total of $5,500 towards our goal of $15,000 of the EMS funding. It's wonderful. So thank you to the Tobin Family Foundation and to University Hospitals represented by Bill Benoit, as well as to Northwest Bank, who has made a pledge of $2,500. We're well on our way. This is awesome. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Well, great. All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's see. I think that is about it. So I may toss it over to Jim Lang at this point. Jim, if you would introduce our speaker for today.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
I chatted with you, but you may not have seen it. I have a quick announcement.
Oh, yeah. Please go ahead, Rich. Absolutely.
Pat and I were chatting yesterday about the Boy Scouts camp and the cleaning of the pool. And we came up with a date that'll work at least on their end and hopefully on our end. So for those people that are interested in helping out again, they will cook us lunch. I know that's a nice perk that some of us enjoy. But it's June 27th, Saturday at 9 o'clock at the Boy Scouts camp. And we'll work till whatever. Traditionally, we've had 5, 6, 7 people at the most. So for those people, you can either email me or text me or whatever you want to do. Cell phone number is 216-469-2849 if you want to volunteer on Saturday the 27th.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Oh, by the way, James reminds me that with the graduation this evening, only graduates and their families in the car are invited. Obviously, the greater community is not. So, but I think this will all be recorded and there'll be an opportunity for everyone to see it, I'm sure, on Hudson Community TV. But all right. Very good on that. And is there anything else before the speaker, folks? All right. Jim Lang, take it away.
Thank you, Tom. And welcome this morning to Dave Lowry. Dave's been very gracious in volunteering his services this morning. He is the Vice President of Marketing of Holden Forests and Gardens. Dave oversees all the marketing for Holden Forests and Gardens, which includes Holden Arboretum in Kirtland and the Cleveland Botanical Gardens in University Circle. In this role, he really promotes the organization's key strategies, which include urban forestry initiatives, environmental research, and attracting visitors and members to its 2 campuses. Before joining Holden Forests and Gardens, Dave was marketing manager for Key Bank, where he promoted Key Bank in Northeast Ohio through sponsorships including the Cleveland Indians, Cleveland Cavs, Playhouse Square, and Cozy. Prior to Key, Dave was VP of Marketing for the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he was responsible for driving attendance to Cavs games and other events. highlight of Dave's time at the Cavaliers was hosting the 1997, he doesn't look that old, the 1997 NBA All-Star Game.
Wow.
Dave lives in Bay Village with his wife and 3 children. And Dave, welcome this morning. And we're anxious to hear about you because our theme, I think you know, is summer fun, and you fit right in. Your marketing efforts fit right in. So welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and thanks for the whole organization for having me, having us. It's a pleasure to be able to kind of share our story with you. And if I could, I'm going to a little bit of the history of the organization before I get to the current fund, which is just getting going with all this COVID stuff. But yeah, coming to you from Bay Village. I do have 3 kids. My youngest is actually a senior who just graduated from Bay High. And they're trying to have a graduation ceremony on August 1st. They're crossing their fingers. He's going to George Washington in the fall. My 2 older kids are at the University of Cincinnati, and they're down there this summer. So here is just myself and my son, and my wife might be walking through soon and to take the dogs out for a little morning break. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I'm not a native Clevelander, but I've been here. I met my wife at Syracuse University. So I've been here 35 years or something. I certainly consider myself a Clevelander now. And it seems to me that sometimes us transplants appreciate this area more than locals. In the old days, at least, there's a real inferiority complex with a lot of native Clevelanders. My wife had. And I came in saying, "Oh my gosh, this place is just fantastic. I'm the biggest cheerleader for Northeast Ohio, and I still am. I just love it. I just love it here." I joined Holden Forest and Gardens 5 years ago. I was the first employee after the Cleveland Botanical Garden and the Holden Arboretum merged to form Holden Forest and Gardens. So that was just over 5 years ago, and we're really kind of just getting ready to, we were just getting ready to ramp up and take on the world when the pandemic hit. We got a new CEO 2 years ago, a woman named Jill Koski. She came from the Morton Arboretum in Chicago, and she embarked on a new strategic plan and really a new direction for the organization. Has done a terrific job. And this really kind of was the year where a lot of stuff was coming together, and we were excited to kind of live this new strategic plan. But the coronavirus has us, has everyone in the world changing those plans a little bit, and we're adjusting. And I'll get to the latest of that in a minute. But I really love the history of these organizations and of this town. We are blessed. Northeast Ohio is blessed with a history of great philanthropists that we really are benefiting from today. The fact that the Museum of Art is, Cleveland Museum of Art is there, and the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, and the orchestra is there, and the Botanical Garden and the Holden Arboretum are kind of in that category too. Interestingly, both of those organizations started 1930, I want to say, and I think I read that the Hudson Rotary started in 1932, so a lot of good things happened that year. Really quickly, I'll just kind of walk through quickly kind of like the Botanical Gardens history and then the Arboretums. The Botanical Garden was started by a number of women who really wanted to kind of preserve botanical writing. It was very important. That various people were learning about flowers and agriculture and botany, and they put it in books. And that was those written books were the only place where those things existed, and they recognized the importance of it. So they formed the Cleveland Garden Center in 1930 as a place really to hold those books, something of a library really. So if you wanted to start a garden, you could go get a book, and you could learn from the books that were there. And that was in the boat. You guys may have read. That was in the boathouse in the lagoon behind the Cleveland Museum of Art. That's where the first Cleveland Garden Center was. And they were there for many years, and then a flood in the 50s kind of drove them to higher ground, and they moved across the street to what is really now the current location of the Cleveland Botanical Garden, right there in University Circle. So that was in 1959. And slowly they built up various gardens, the herb garden and the rose garden. In the 90s, the Hershey Children's Garden. In 1994, they changed the name to Cleveland Botanical Garden as we know it now. But I certainly know many people that call it the Garden Center. They say, oh, you work at the Garden Center. So we'll go by whatever you call us. But they did change the name in 1994 to the Cleveland Botanical Garden. And then in 2003 is when the glass house was built. So the big expansion, the glass house, which has the biomes of a desert, a spiny desert of Madagascar, and a cloud forest of Costa Rica, and that's kind of how we know it. That's kind of how we know it today. And the Cleveland Botanical Garden and University Circle is such a treasure. I feel kind of honored to work there. Those really are world-class institutions that we Northeast Ohioans are so lucky to have. The story of the Holden Arboretum was a little bit different, but it starts with a terrific, a wonderful Cleveland philanthropist named Albert Fairchild Holden. And he lost a daughter at a young age. His daughter died at age 12, and he decided to start an arboretum in her memory. And so he was a miner and an industrialist, and he looked for locations all over Northeast Ohio to start this arboretum, and ended up landing in Lake County at the current location. And I think started his two daughters. He died before it really took off. He started the trust, and then his daughters continued on the quest to build this arboretum. It started with a 100-acre donation, and it kind of grew. They would gain more land over the years, and then when the trust money was really kind of fully realized, I think all the way into the 80s, it started to take shape as to what is now the Holden Arboretum. It's 3,500 acres. It's one of the largest arboreta in the country, and there's a tremendous collections there collections of plant species that have been documented for years and years and years. So that really is another treasure that we have, and it makes a lot of sense that the Cleveland, the Botanical Garden and the Arboretum came together 5 years ago, a little more than that now, and they are really wonderfully complementary organizations. They're both nature-based organizations. One is urban. It's a little easier to get around for some people, for young kids. It has access to larger population, and then the Arboretum is wonderful. It's a little more of an exurban area, over 10 miles of trails. This canopy walk and these raised bridges and tower was built in 2016, and that really changed the face of that place. But I just love that history, and you can go a lot deeper into it, but I'll stop there. I will see if I can share my screen. I said before that maybe I could. We'll see if this works. I don't want to be too slide heavy, but a couple of things so you can stop having to look at me for a second. Let's see, where am I? Maybe that. Do you see a slide? Anyone who's unmuted? Just to check.
We see it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as I mentioned, founded around 1930, the Botanical Garden just covers 10 acres. That includes the glass house, the 17,000 square foot glass house, 3,500 acres at the Arboretum. We have a $14 million annual budget, and as you guys probably know, nonprofits are often kind of measured by their operating expenses. So that's a $14 million organization. About 130 full-time staff, and that gets higher in the summertime with seasonal gardeners, and then for special events we have seasonal workers. So it's been a real important organization in Northeast Ohio, pretty good employer. We reach a lot of people over the course of the year.
Rich, can I interrupt for a minute? We see PowerPoint open and we're seeing the slides. If you could run the slideshow, it'll fill the screen better.
Okay, yeah, I will do that.
Perfect, thank you.
Is that better? Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can advance them. So just a couple of numbers about, so we attract close to 400,000 visitors a year. That is the two locations together. We do a lot of conservation work. You know, our research team does a lot of work with tree pests and diseases. You know, one of our primary goals is to have a healthier forest in the region. We have over 17,000 member households, which is really a significant number, a little bigger than I think most people think of us as having. So we have a lot of wonderful traditional long-term supporters. We do a lot of research. We work a lot with school children. Plenty of school visits to the Holden Arboretum and to the Cleveland Botanical Garden. Plenty of times when our educators go into those schools. You know, education these days, it's really so important for the kids to get out of the classroom, to get some hands-on work. You know, and we think there's hardly any more important topic than the environment. So it's a really important time for us to share these learnings with kids. And then volunteers are very important to us. We have over 1,500 volunteers. They do everything from office work to gardening to special events to photography to maintaining our bluebird records. They lead tours. You know, some of our most knowledgeable people in our organization are our volunteers. And the volunteers, I think, are just extra special because they're not doing it for a paycheck. They're doing it because they love it, you know. So it's among my favorite aspects of working for a nonprofit is the role that the volunteers play. Our mission and vision, this is our new mission and vision. Holden Forests and Gardens connects people with the wonder, beauty, and value of trees and plants to inspire action for healthy communities. Our vision is that all communities will be transformed into vibrant places where trees, plants, and people thrive. So it's really trying to educate people about the importance of the environment. As I mentioned, this is a really important time to do that. You know, so our organization is known as a place that you might visit. You know, it's beautiful to visit. It can be fun to visit. But our mission is definitely more than that. And really the visit is a means to an end. You know, a visit can be a time where a person, they learn something or they become inspired or they realize how important the environment is and they become better stewards of their own backyards. So we do that one person at a time. Our goal longer term, you know, we want to be better. We want to have more of a role in the community as a whole. We've arguably been somewhat insular over the years. You know, we welcome our visitors, we do our research, but we haven't always done as much in the community as we can and should. But we're fully committed to it now. So we want to be kind of known. We want to be very deeply connected to the community as a whole. As any organization, we want to be financially sound. Lower left hand, you know, we want to be a diverse organization that is welcoming to all. Botanical gardens are typically not very diverse. Our arbory is not very diverse. And so it's one of the tenets of our strategic plan is to be more open and welcoming to all. And that takes a lot of work and a definite effort. And then we want to be a world-class organization that we operate in an environmentally conscious way that is a model. You know, it's a model for others. So what we'd love to see is that people who visit, they leave a little more knowledgeable about the environment. and may be inspired to do something. They could become tree stewards in their own community. There's wonderful organizations all around the area that volunteer to plant trees to make sure that there's good tree care in various communities. The whole world really needs volunteers to make things happen. We hope that communities follow the paths that we, that we can kind of set an example of operating in an environmentally conscious, positive way. So we want these communities. The environment is about healthy. It's healthy eating. It's healthy, healthier air, healthier water. And we hope to see a world where plants and trees are plentiful and resilient to a changing environment. Our researchers, the environment is changing more rapidly than ever before. So our researchers and all environmental researchers are challenged like never before to make sure that these various plant species kind of thrive, or understanding what the changing climate a bit. There's also there's more pests to deal with, it seems. Pests and diseases, for whatever reason, are seeming more destructive, aggressive, fast moving. So it's in the environmental world, there's a lot of kind of challenges that our researchers are taking on right now. I'll keep going. So some of our goals is to build a more engaged, connected, and collaborative community presence. We have volunteers in the community. We're doing tree plantings regularly. We're doing education in the awareness, or education in the community. We're a founding, I want to bring attention on this slide to the Cleveland Tree Coalition. Hopefully you know about it. The Cleveland Tree Coalition is a collaborative group that was formed to increase the tree canopy. The tree canopy is the tree coverage in Northeast Ohio. It's dangerously low in Northeast Ohio. So a number of organizations, including Holden Forests and Gardens and the Western Reserve Land Conservancy, and the Cleveland Metro Parks, the City of Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, and really dozens of others have come together to take better care of the trees that are in the ground. That's the most important thing we can do, because a healthy, mature tree has incredible environmental benefits. So it's taking care of the trees that are in the ground and then working to plant new ones, because the goal of the Cleveland Tree Coalition is to increase the tree canopy coverage in the city of Cleveland to 30% by the year 2040. It's currently at 19%. It's dangerously low. It has, when trees are that, when the tree canopy coverage is that slight, it has a lot of environmental impacts on our air and on our water, and other health factors in these communities. So that's an important endeavor of ours. But of course, what we're known for is having people visit, and that really is the driver of everything. We have those two beautiful, we call them campuses, the Botanical Garden and the Arboretum. We attract people, and we hope to kind of engage them, have them visit more, have them, gain a love of the environment. There's a beautiful photo. That's the butterfly garden, as it's called, at the Holden Arboretum. Looks like that might be in early fall. At the Arboretum, the fall is the most popular time of year when the fall colors have quite an expansive view out there. But it's beautiful all times of year. So that's the butterfly garden. That's a lush view of the Cleveland Botanical Garden. And if you haven't been there, for being kind of in a very urban area and only being 9 acres, you really can lose yourself at the Cleveland Botanical Garden. You kind of forget that you're in the city, except the truck rolls by every once in a while. And we do special exhibits. Part of our business is, you have to do some special events to attract people so they become members. So you get that admission revenue so that we can do, so we can do the good work in the community. So there's some photos here of, like, you may have be familiar with Glow at the Cleveland Botanical Garden. We've had some kids themed shows, and they're usually kind of educational, rainforest adventure. And then we've had, there's a couple of pictures there of fun special events at the Holden Arboretum. Those special events are kind of mostly on hold right now. Right now we're getting back to just general visitation. And certainly horticulture is at the center of everything we do. So the picture to the left is of the Orchid Mania show, which is the longest running flower show that we have. And then some of the other beautiful flowers, the two other shots are of the Holden Arboretum. We have a wonderful new horticulturist who, a woman named Caroline Tate from England, joined 4 months ago. And she just has a wonderful natural love of gardening that is just infectious, and I think is really inspirational to our horticulturists, and that'll come through in those gardens. You know, I'm not a gardening expert myself, but it's like I see these folks as kind of artists almost. You know, they're both scientists and artists. I'm always amazed at the knowledge of these horticulturists. You know, number one, to just grow thriving plants. Then many of them really are artistic in how they display them. And I think that's what a lot of garden lovers come to our places for. It's to see gardens at a size that maybe they couldn't do at home, or to get ideas. And there's a wonderful exchange of expertise in that community of gardeners. Another goal of ours, we want to model solutions for environmental stewardship and climate change. So when there's issues with the environment, you know, we want to be looked upon as, you know, as an expert. We have a lot to offer in that regard. We do a lot of research. So, you know, what we talk about in terms of the environment or climate, it's based on the research on our own grounds. So that's our vantage point. Yeah, so that role is really important. And we do a lot of special events to try to, special seminars to try to educate people about that. And I mentioned diversity, equity, inclusion. That is very important to us. And it's not an easy goal. It's not an easy thing to achieve. And it involves your own employees, your own volunteer base, the marketing for the organization. You know, the marketing has to be mindful at all times of equity, diversity, inclusion, accessibility. So that's you know, that's an ongoing goal. And like I say, these organizations, I think all these science-based organizations, nobody does it alone. You know, the science community, and I know there's the physician talked earlier, the science community they've always been collaborative. They learn from each other. We all learn from each other. One organization has a finding, another organization verifies it, another organization builds on it. The ethos of scientists and environmentalists, it's very much working with others, and it's really the best way to be in all aspects of life. So there's a lot of great organizations that we partner with. So that's kind of the end of the slide presentation. Let me see. Maybe I'll stop sharing the screen and I get back to my view. I was supposed to talk about what's happening fun, and there is some fun starting to happen. So we closed down. We along with many other organizations. It was back in March. You know, we remember that time. It was the week before St. Patrick's Day, March 13th, I think. We closed both the Holden Arboretum and the Cleveland Botanical Garden completely to visitors. It was a difficult thing to do. But we did that at that time. Now we're just starting to open up. We're fortunate that it's the time of year that it is, because both organizations, you know, the Holden Arboretum especially, it's mostly an outdoor experience. so we are able to welcome visitors back. So looking at my calendar here, the Holden Arboretum has been open now since May 12th, which has been great. We started opening to members only, outside only. We have over 10 miles of trails. We opened last week to general public as well as members. And then the next big kind of opening within the opening will be the Canopy Walk and Tower. You know, the Canopy Walk and Tower at the Holden Arboretum is really, really special. And if you haven't been there, I'd recommend it for anyone. It really changed the face of the Holden Arboretum. What those two structures are, the Canopy Walk is it's raised bridges, if you will, 65 feet above the forest floor. It goes for about three different kind of bridges that's connected in a kind of a triangle for 500 feet. And it lets you experience the forest from amid the canopy. You know, so on that canopy walk, you're able to see, you know, wildlife and birds in those trees that you can't normally see. It's a really amazing experience. The other structure is the Emergence Tower, the Calberer family Emergent Tower. And that's a wooden structure that's 120 feet in the air. It goes above the treetops. It's 202 steps if you're counting. So you walk up this wooden structure to the top and you're above the trees. You know, you're above the trees. It gives you another really unique view of the forest out there. On a clear day, you can see Lake Erie. The Holden Arboretum is about 5 miles south of Lake Erie, so you can see Lake Erie. And for those of you who think it's impossible to accomplish, what's nice about the way that the tower is built, it's got, I think, 7 different platforms. So you take, you know, you go up a flight or 2 of stairs, and then there's a nice platform where you can kind of rest and take in the sights from there, you know, and then continue up. So it's really spectacular. When the Canopy Walk and Tower were opened in 2016, it essentially doubled the attendance for the Holden Arboretum. The Holden Arboretum, for those of us who've been around for a while, a little bit of a sleepy organization. I think people, they knew it was there, they appreciated it. Plenty of members loved it for its beauty. There's a lot of folks, there's a lot of people that live closer to that area that walk there every day. And they still do, but the Canopy Walk and Tower brought a lot of new visitors to it. So what was great about it was a lot of people came for the Canopy Walk, you know, to go on those structures, but then they realized they saw all the other beauty that's there. These amazing gardens. The Holden Arboretum is really known for its rhododendrons. Incredible collection of rhododendrons, and we do a lot of rhododendron research. Wildflower garden is tremendous. This butterfly garden, which specializes in plants that attract pollinators, is really beautiful. And over 10 miles of trails. You know, the grounds there are really just stunning and unspoiled. And so a lot of people there are there for the nature trails. So the Holden Arboretum is really a special place. The piece of it that is not back yet that I can't wait for. You know, it's terrific to get a guided tour. We have trams there. You know, these trams that drive you around, and it's not bad getting a ride around. Those grounds are big, but the volunteer guides are so knowledgeable. So I'll suggest to you all to try to make it out to Holden Arboretum this summer if you haven't been. Canopy Walk and Tower are now open. And let's hope that maybe the tram rides will be open soon. But things just develop. You know, any time of year that you go is just amazing. And interestingly, for that place, October is the biggest month of the year because of the fall foliage. One other highlight, we were really glad that this worked out. Checking my time, 8:15. I'll stop talking very soon. Mimi, did you want to say something? You might be on.
Let everybody know, Dave, that they were muted, and I'm unmuting everyone. So feel free to answer questions. I see one thing that, do you have to make an appointment right now for entry to the Arboretum? That's
Yeah, I'm glad someone asked that. I meant to say that. Yeah, in order to manage crowd size, for better or worse, it's the world we live in right now. You have to you have to sign up for a time that you're going to visit the Arboretum and the Botanical Garden, actually. So on a half-hour increment. So even if you get in for free, like members get in for free, you still need to sign up for a time, and that allows us to manage the crowd size.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Your mission and your primary objectives are to focus on trees, plants, and people, and I understand that. Unfortunately, I'm one of those scientist types, and I understand that they can't survive without animals. And so, and you've mentioned pollinators, you've mentioned, some other things. So how do you get people to understand, yes, they're pests and we have to be able to deal with them, but we can't have plants or trees without their enablers, their facilitators, which are animals. They're destroyers with, like us. So how do you frame the reality that these things live in ecosystems? And if you don't have a healthy ecosystem, which means the community can't be spraying and killing all the pollinators and expect to have healthy vegetation.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's certainly a symbiotic relationship with animals and insects, for sure, and plants. The one wouldn't survive without the other. At the interpretation, as we call it, at both locations, talks a lot about the role of wildlife and insects with plants. The Canopy Walking Tower, for instance, talks a lot about the wildlife. The role of plant life as animal habitat.
Yeah,
it's a very important part of it. Yeah,
so
that's a very, yep.
Yeah, and the reason I asked it is because of that fact, when one of your key statements, your whole focus, and I understand why arboretums are focused on vegetation, but I think that if you're educating the public, I think the public, especially in urban areas, has to get it that animals live there too. It's not just about us. So
yeah,
that was just my response to your official objectives, which probably are constant PR, but the people who are visiting might not get unless somebody is part of the education process.
right. Yeah, our focus is the plant world, you might say. But as I mentioned, plants can't survive without insects and animals, and vice versa.
Or maybe in spite of them.
Yeah. The one other visitor highlight I wanted to mention, there's a internationally known artist named Patrick Doherty who does these large-scale sculptures out of natural materials, and his work is called stick work. And he was going to have a large display at the Botanical Garden in May, which got canceled. We were fortunate to be able to, that he had time to come back, and he's doing, in the month of August, he's going to be doing a large-scale installation at the Holden Arboretum. That's going to open on Saturday, August 22nd, and will be up for probably a year and a half. You'll hear a lot about it later in the summer, but these works are really incredible. He comes with his son, and over a 3-week period, he builds these structures that he just designs himself. It's based on the location that he's working with. He builds them out of willow branches, and a lot of volunteers will be helping him in that process. And the end result is just something stunning that people come from miles around to see and have a picture taken with. And so that's called stick work, and that'll be for all of the challenges that we have this year of limited capacity and and sometimes limited offerings. We're excited that toward the end of the summer, we'll have that stickwork installation opening. At the Botanical Garden campus, I just wanted to note that we opened today, actually. Today is the first day that the Botanical Garden is open to the public. It is open, it's the outside, we're starting with the outside grounds only, so you kind of go in the building and you kind of go walk through the building and you go to the outdoor gardens. But I think about 2 weeks, I think 1 week from now, we're going to open the glass house. We're working on that. We've been working closely with the city and the county and the state to do everything according to their guidelines. So the outdoor gardens right now, but then the glass house, which is so popular, will be next week. So that's so things are hopefully getting back to normal. People will be able to enjoy the beautiful gardens. When summer ends and we hit the winter season, we'll see what happens then. I think it's hard to predict right now, especially for the Botanical Garden, which normally has the holiday celebration in late November and December, all indoors. But I think what we're finding from, in some cases, the Botanical Garden is thought of as a museum. We're figuring out how to do it. There's one-way traffic. We're limiting capacity. So I think that's what the immediate future is going to be for the Botanical Garden indoors anyway. And so we're going to try to achieve our mission, amid these kind of new these new hurdles and restrictions that everyone is dealing with.
Marilyn, you had a couple of questions here in the queue.
I surely did. Can you bring a dog with you on some of the trails if you're walking?
Yeah, what's great, Marilyn, about the Holden Arboretum is dogs are allowed at the Holden Arboretum. They are not allowed at the Cleveland Botanical Garden because it's kind of tight. But that's something people really appreciate. We're such a dog culture. I know I'm a dog lover. And dogs on leashes are allowed at the Holden Arboretum, and people love that. They love that about the Arboretum.
I also have a point of congratulations. Your memberships are very affordable, and it's been wonderful for our family.
Yeah,
I have 3 young grandchildren, and the Children's Garden downtown at the University Circle is so engaging every season of the year.
It's probably, I don't have young kids anymore, but the Hershey Children's Garden is probably my favorite area of the Cleveland Botanical Garden. It's not open yet. That's going to be a couple more weeks. There's, tight confines, but I can't wait. That's going to open sooner and I can't wait. But thank you for saying that, Marilyn. I do think that to get year-round access to both places, the Holden Arboretum and the Cleveland Botanical Garden, for a family membership is $85. It does seem like a very good value, so hopefully, and even during these times when people are having a little, limited access here and there, hopefully we'll hold on to a lot of members.
Do we have any other questions for Dave?
Well, I had one more.
Yeah.
At the Holden Arboretum, are those only pedestrian trails, or do you have anything for biking?
Yeah, there's no biking there. Those are just pedestrian trails.
Okay.
I think it's thought to be a little dangerous to have both allowed. So it's walkers and hikers.
I just wanted to make a comment. As you know, Phil and most of our careers have been involved in philanthropy, and one of the things that I remember, as a teenager, was when my grandfather. So this would be Phil's father-in-law, my mother's father, Charles Way. He was a big fan of horticulture, and he had a special relationship, I think, with the Cleveland Garden Center, which I agree, that's probably an inappropriate name. It sounds like a place where you go to buy your plant.
Right.
But he had a special relationship there. When he passed away, I think the family made a contribution, and maybe friends as well, to the book collection, which it sounds like that was the original purpose, the original focus of the organization. And that made an impression on me that, this was something that he was passionate about during his lifetime. He loved that organization, and and people could express their and themselves philanthropically to reflect what his interests were.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good to know that that he's memorialized there to some small extent. So, folks, anything else? Any other comments for Dave? Any other questions for him? All right. Well, if not, I think Dave, I think you've given us good food for thought. It sounds like there is fun to be had in both aspects of your organization there, the botanical site as well as the Arboretum site. And I think we'll all find our ways out there this summer. So thank you so much for exposing us a little bit more to what's going on.
Thank you.
And,
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Really
thank
appreciate
you. And by the way, it sounds like you've had a very fun career. Sounds like you've probably been to a lot of great ball games over there. I think we're all jealous.
I've been to a lot of Cavaliers games. Yeah, I'm a sports fan. I'm a sports fan too.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's probably driving you nuts right now.
That's right.
Hey, hey. Well, thank you all. Just want to remind folks, club board meeting tonight at 7 p.m. If you need a Zoom link for it, let me know.
Tom,
yes, Ed.
did you catch the emails that came to you regarding the people that had conflicts?
I thought I saw one from Jay Yard, and I thought he was maybe kidding about it, but no, I didn't see those.
Now there were several people that have conflicts, so you might want to check that and see if we would have a quorum with some people that can't make it, because it seemed like the majority of people were in favor of having the morning, as a time.
Okay. And by the way, the reason I was shooting for an evening thing was out of respect for people who are working a full-time job. It seemed to me it might make sense to do it in the evening, but if not, that's perfectly fine. I did that without gathering a lot of feedback. Okay. All right. Well, I'll look into that after this, and I'll let you know if we're going to scratch it. And otherwise, you all have a wonderful.
Hold on. You want to know what? Hey, Tom, next week.
Oh yeah, next week, please. Jim, give us a preview. What do we got?
Well, we're going to satisfy Mimi's need for animals next week.
and bugs.
Bugs and insects and bacteria.
Well, you'll see. They'll be there too, I guess. But these are going to be a little bit larger for the most part. But we got the Vice President of the Wilds, Dr. Jan Raymer. She'll be our speaker and educator, and talking about that phenomenal spot down in Cumberland, Ohio. So, and encourage your friends like we have to get our speakers exposed. And Dave, I think that this is this was recorded, and you can probably fill him in, Donna, on where he can get the copy of this?
Yes, Dave, I will send you a link later this week to the version that will appear on Hudson Cable TV. And you are free to take that video file and repurpose and use as you'd like. And hey, Tom, can I toss in one more announcement, if I may?
Oh, please do. Please do.
Next Tuesday, so the Hudson Chamber of Commerce has a virtual speaker series, and little old me is their virtual speaker. I'm not sure what that means that I'm virtual, except that I'm doing it on Zoom. And it's Tuesday morning, June 16th, 8 to 9:30 a.m. And the topic, Bridging the Generations, Pathways to Richer Collaboration, the COVID-19 edition. So as workforces resume and they're starting to tackle new challenges, we're going to talk about what those conversations look like. More info on explorehudson.org. Thanks, Tom.
Oh, thank you. Any other comments, folks? Did I hear you say something, Ron? Okay. All right. Well, if not, then let's adjourn this meeting, and we will see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.